I sent a signal. Is there anyone who wants to marry me? The immortal alien woman arrived. The night was quiet at the old relay station on the edge of the desert. Lights flickered softly along the metal corridors, casting long shadows that danced like ghostly figures on the walls. Outside, the desert stretched endlessly, a vast empty silence broken only by the soft hiss of wind. For most people, this place would have seemed lonely, even frightening, but to Liam it was comforting. He liked being alone. He liked the silence. It gave him time to think. Liam had spent most of his life among machines. His fingers were always covered in small scratches from wires and circuits, and his hair often smelled faintly of solder. Tonight, however, he wasn't fixing anything. He was sending a message. Not a message about science or technology, but a simple, almost foolish one. He stared at the glowing screen in front of him, blinking cursor waiting. He smiled softly. "This is probably crazy," he muttered to himself. "But maybe someone out there will understand." With a deep breath, he typed words that made no sense to a formal scientific report but made perfect sense to him. "Hello, is there anyone who wants to marry me?" He paused, reading it over. It felt silly, ridiculous. He laughed softly. "I sound like a child," he whispered. But something in him, something quiet and hopeful, made him press the button. The relay station hummed as the signal began its journey, carrying his words beyond the stars, beyond planets and galaxies, into the deep, empty space. The signal traveled in waves, bouncing from satellite to satellite, slipping past planets and meteor showers until it disappeared into the infinite dark. Liam leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. "Well," he said, more to himself than anyone else, "that's done. Probably nothing will come of it." For hours, nothing happened. He drank a cup of bitter coffee and stared out at the dark desert, watching stars twinkle far, far away. His life was simple. He fixed equipment, he maintained communication lines, and at night he dreamed of far-off places, imagining what life might be like on other worlds. But the loneliness had been his companion for years. Tonight, he had done something different. He had spoken into the universe. Somewhere far beyond his understanding, in a place that had existed before the first stars, a being stirred. She was not young. She had lived for millennia, seen empires rise and fall, watched stars die and galaxies form. She was immortal as her kind had been for countless ages, and yet she had forgotten something vital. The warmth of choice, the thrill of curiosity, the wonder of something unexpected. The signal from Earth reached her slowly, carried across the void, until her attention was caught. At first, she thought it was a mistake. No intelligent species sent such a message without reason. Her species had long abandoned such frivolity. Emotion had been considered dangerous, inefficient. She studied the message carefully, analyzing it with the precision of a mind that had lived for eons. "Is there anyone who wants to marry me?" The words puzzled her. There was no threat, no demand, no strategy, just a question, just honesty. And somehow it fascinated her. She had not been curious in millennia, yet now she felt a spark she did not recognize. She decided almost instinctively to see the sender, to understand. Back on Earth, Liam had gone to bed, tired and dreaming. In his dreams, he walked through stars and floated above planets. He imagined voices from the cosmos answering him, but none did. The morning sunlight spilled over the desert, warming the cold metal walls of the relay station. Liam rubbed his eyes and yawned, thinking little of the message he had sent the night before. But something had changed. Somewhere far away, a journey had begun. The immortal woman, curious and intrigued, prepared herself for a voyage that would take her across thousands of light years. Her ships were unlike anything human engineers had ever imagined. Sleek, silent, and powered by forces beyond mortal comprehension, they moved without the constraints of gravity or speed. Yet for all her technology, she carried with her only one desire, to meet the human who dared to speak honestly. Meanwhile, Liam's life continued as usual. He walked through the dusty corridors, checking instruments and sending routine signals. He spoke to his colleagues over radio links, laughed at small jokes, and ate meals that tasted bland but comforting. Yet there was a subtle change in the air, something he could not yet perceive. The universe was beginning to notice him. In the distant reaches of space, observers from other civilizations had also detected the signal. Most ignored it. Few paid attention to a human sending a message that seemed foolish and meaningless. But some watched, curious. It was rare for humans to act without strategy or fear. They acted with honesty, with emotion, and with courage. These qualities were dangerous in a galaxy ruled by strategy and control, yet they were remarkable. Days passed, weeks passed. Liam began to forget the message entirely. Life at the relay station was predictable, even boring. And yet one night, as he adjusted a transmitter, a strange energy passed through the instruments. Lights flickered, panels glowed faintly, and the screens showed patterns he had never seen. His heart beat faster. Something was approaching, something intelligent. Something extraordinary. In the vast emptiness of space, the immortal woman had arrived in the solar system. She moved carefully, not wanting to alarm the humans before she understood them. From her ship, she observed Earth with curiosity and admiration. The planet was small, fragile, yet full of life and unexpected complexity. And somewhere on its surface, the human who had sent the signal lived, unaware of the eyes that now watched him. Liam, meanwhile, noticed the strange energy fluctuations. He frowned, trying to understand. This isn't normal, he muttered, tapping buttons and adjusting dials. The readings were unprecedented. Then the screens shifted, showing shapes and lights that defied explanation. He leaned closer, eyes wide. Something was approaching. Something alive, intelligent, and watching. He felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. This was nothing like he had imagined in his dreams. This was real. A presence, powerful and incomprehensible, was reaching toward him. He could not see it fully, could not understand its form or purpose, yet he felt its intent. It was curious, and somehow he knew it had read his message. The immortal woman, meanwhile, marveled at the human. Such fragility, such imperfection, yet such courage. He had sent a signal into the void, knowing it might never be answered, and yet he had done it anyway. That courage, that willingness to expose himself to the universe, was fascinating. In her long life, she had never encountered a species like this, one that valued honesty over strategy, curiosity over control. She decided it was time. Time to meet the human who had reached across the cosmos without fear or pretense. She adjusted her ship's course, moving carefully toward the relay station. The distance was vast, but she did not rush. She had all the time in the universe. What mattered now was understanding, observing, and preparing for contact. Back at the relay station, Liam noticed the first strange phenomenon. Lights flickered more intensely, panels buzzed, and instruments displayed readings beyond any known scale. He stepped outside, squinting at the night sky. Stars shone brightly, but one point of light seemed different. It moved, not like a satellite, not like a plane, but with intention. He gasped softly. What is that?" In her ship, the immortal woman watched him closely. He was smaller than she expected, fragile in appearance, yet his eyes held curiosity and courage. He had sent a simple message, yet he had revealed more than he knew: openness, vulnerability, and hope. These qualities were rare, even dangerous, in a galaxy shaped by power and fear. Liam felt an urge he could not explain, a sense that he was not alone. He could not see her, could not understand her form, yet he knew she was near. And for reasons he could not articulate, he did not feel fear, only curiosity, only anticipation. The ship hovered silently above the desert. Its presence was immense, yet it did not harm, it did not threaten. Liam stared, mouth slightly open, heart racing. Then, without warning, a gentle energy passed through him, a silent greeting, powerful yet comforting. He did not understand it, but he felt it deeply. Somewhere in the ship, the immortal woman smiled. For the first time in millennia, she felt something she had forgotten: excitement, wonder, and a spark of hope. The journey had begun, not a conquest, not a demand, but a simple human connection that had traveled across the stars. The night at the relay station had changed forever. Liam did not yet know that the universe had noticed him. He did not yet know that his small, foolish signal had reached an immortal being who had lived beyond time. But the moment had arrived when the ordinary and the extraordinary met, and the story of something remarkable was about to begin. And in the quiet desert night, among flickering lights and the endless stars, a connection was forming, a connection that would change the lives of both human and immortal, and perhaps in time even the universe itself. The sun rose slowly over the desert, painting the relay station in soft shades of gold and pink. Liam had not slept well. The strange lights in the night sky, the energy that passed through him, and the sense of being watched had lingered in his mind. He could not explain it, and he doubted anyone would believe him. Most people would have laughed at the story. But he knew what he had felt. Something extraordinary was near, and it had responded to him. As he walked along the dusty path outside the station, he tried to make sense of it all. He checked the instruments again. The readings were unusual, far beyond anything he had ever seen. They did not follow any pattern he could understand. Yet there was intelligence in them. The energy, the presence, the motion, it was all deliberate. Someone or something was observing him. Far above, in the vacuum of space, the immortal woman adjusted her ship. The small human station was fragile and simple, a mere dot on a planet filled with billions of people. Yet it was exactly where she needed to be. She had traveled across countless light years, not to conquer, not to study, but to see the human who had dared to reach out without fear. Her mind moved quickly, analyzing every possible scenario. Her species had avoided emotion for millions of years. Attachment, curiosity, and love were considered weaknesses. Yet here was a human, a small, fragile being who had acted without strategy, without caution, with only honesty. That alone made him remarkable. She remembered her own long life. She had seen civilizations rise and fall, planets bloom and decay. She had met beings of incredible intelligence, incredible power, and incredible cruelty. Yet none had ever dared to act as openly, as boldly as this human. And for the first time in millennia, she wondered, what would it be like to learn from a species so small, so mortal, and yet so courageous? Liam went back inside the station, feeling restless. He stared at the monitors, hoping to see some sign of what had passed over him the night before. The instruments showed nothing unusual now, yet he could not shake the feeling that something was changing. Something was coming, something beyond his understanding. He thought about the message he had sent. "Is there anyone who wants to marry me?" he whispered. It had been a joke, in part, a way to fight the loneliness he felt. But now, thinking about it, he realized it was also honest. He had wanted someone to share life with, someone to understand him. He had expected nothing, and perhaps that was why the universe had noticed him. Above Earth, the immortal woman studied the planet. She had lived for so long that she had forgotten the beauty of the unexpected. She had forgotten curiosity, yet this human had reminded her. His words had pierced the barriers she had built over eons. He had reached out without fear, without demand, without plan. And that, more than anything, had captured her attention. She began to observe him more closely. She could see the tiny station, the way he moved from room to room, the way he checked instruments and made notes. She could feel his thoughts, not in detail, but in essence. He was cautious but curious. He was alone, but not lonely in a bitter way. There was hope in him, a quiet determination. Back on Earth, Liam began to notice small changes. The air felt different, almost charged with energy. Machines hummed softly, though no one had touched them. The monitors flickered once or twice, displaying patterns he could not recognize. He felt a strange warmth in the room, like the sun shining on his skin, though the desert sun had not yet risen. He frowned. "Okay, this is new," he muttered. "This is not normal." The immortal woman smiled softly. From her perspective, it was fascinating to see such subtle reactions. A human, so small and fragile, was beginning to notice the extraordinary, and he did not panic. That was what made him remarkable. Most creatures would have fled, would have hidden, or would have called for help. But not him. He observed. He waited. He tried to understand. She decided it was time to communicate in a way he could feel, even if he could not yet see her. She projected a gentle pulse of energy toward the station. It was not loud, not threatening, only a soft wave that passed through the walls and floors. It brushed past him like a whisper of wind, warm and comforting. Liam felt it immediately. His breath caught. What is that?" he asked aloud, though he knew no one was there. The feeling was unlike anything he had experienced. It was not electricity, not magnetism, not any force he had studied. It was intelligent, it was aware, and somehow it felt welcoming. The immortal woman watched, fascinated. She had seen the rise and fall of galaxies, but never had she seen a creature react to the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. The human's response was pure, honest, and completely uncalculated. It was extraordinary. Liam moved closer to the monitors, trying to detect the source of the energy. The instruments showed nothing. Yet the feeling remained, subtle but insistent, like a heartbeat in the room. He closed his eyes, letting himself feel it without needing to understand it. Deep down, he knew it was connected to the message he had sent. Somehow, the joke he had made, the hope he had expressed, had reached across the stars. In the ship above, the immortal woman began to speak, though no words left her mouth. Humans could not hear her, not yet, but she could project thoughts. Images, feelings, and understanding flowed toward him gently like a dream. Liam did not fully understand the images, yet he could feel the intent. There was no harm. There was no trickery, only curiosity. Only a desire to meet. He felt a chill run down his spine, mixed with excitement. This is impossible," he whispered. "There's no way this can be real." Yet he did not feel fear. Somehow, deep in his chest, he felt a connection, a recognition. It was as if someone or something had finally heard him, and for the first time in years, he felt that loneliness lift just a little. The immortal woman watched the human with growing admiration. She had known endless lifetimes of caution and control. Yet here was a creature, small and mortal, who acted with honesty and bravery without even realizing it. That quality, she realized, was something her people had lost, something rare and precious. She decided it was time to approach more closely. Her ship moved gently through the atmosphere, careful not to disturb the world below. Liam watched the sky, noticing a soft shimmer, a distortion of the air above him. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet he felt it. Something was coming, something real, something extraordinary. His heart pounded. I can't believe this," he whispered. He felt both fear and awe, excitement and hesitation. And yet he did not move away. He could feel that whatever was coming, it meant no harm. Somehow he trusted it. The ship descended closer, hovering silently over the desert. It was massive yet elegant, a shape unlike anything human engineers could imagine. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting the first rays of dawn. And inside, the immortal woman observed the human. She smiled. In all her years, she had never felt anticipation like this. Never had she been curious for her own sake. Liam took a careful step forward, trying to make sense of the impossible. What are you?" he asked aloud, though he did not expect an answer. And yet in his mind, a voice, soft, calm, and ancient, answered him. Not words exactly, but a presence, a feeling that he understood. "I am here because of you. I came because you spoke." He froze. The realization hit him. The message he had sent, his foolish, lonely joke, had actually been received. Not by humans, not by machines, but by someone who could see the stars and travel across them. Someone who had listened, and that someone was coming to meet him. The desert around the station seemed to hold its breath. The wind stopped. Even the distant mountains appeared still. Time, for a moment, felt suspended. Liam could feel history shifting, something larger than himself unfolding. He was not just a man in a lonely station. He was part of something extraordinary. The immortal woman began to descend more carefully, her presence gentle, non-threatening. She wanted him to feel safe. She wanted him to understand that she meant no harm. Her species had long abandoned emotion, but she remembered, faintly, the joy of curiosity, the thrill of the unexpected. And now she was remembering it fully. Liam took another step forward, his fear giving way to excitement. This can't be happening," he whispered, but he smiled. The impossible was real. The stars had answered. And in that moment he realized that life, the universe, and the vast unknown were not as distant or cold as he had once believed. The immortal woman hovered silently above the desert. She did not speak. She did not move toward him aggressively. She simply existed, watching, waiting, curious. And in her silence, Liam felt a strange warmth, a connection that went beyond explanation. Somewhere deep in the human heart, in the immortal mind, and in the endless stretches of space between them, something extraordinary had begun. A bond had started, not of power, not of control, but of curiosity, honesty, and courage. And it was the beginning of a story that would change them both, and perhaps in time the universe itself. For the first time in millennia, the immortal woman felt hope. And for the first time in years, the human felt truly seen. The stage was set. The journey was beginning. And the stars themselves seemed to watch in quiet anticipation. The desert was quiet in the early morning light, but Liam felt electricity in the air, a tension that made every hair on his body stand on end. He had never experienced anything like this. All night the strange presence had hovered above the station. The instruments, though returning to normal, still carried traces of energy he could not identify. And now, as the sun rose higher, he knew something extraordinary was about to happen. He stepped outside, blinking against the glare. His heart pounded in a rhythm that echoed the strange pulse he had felt the night before. Somewhere above him, the air shimmered. It was subtle at first, almost like heat waves rising from the desert sand, but then it began to solidify into a form. Liam froze. He could not see her clearly at first. The form above him was bright, luminous, and shifting. It defied the simple shapes he knew. It was not like a plane or a satellite, not like anything in human imagination. It was alive, intelligent, and deliberate, and yet it did not feel threatening. For a long moment they simply watched each other. Liam's mind raced, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. He felt fear, yes, but it was mingled with awe. And somehow, deep in his chest, he felt a spark of recognition. He did not know why, but he knew this being had come because of him. The immortal woman studied him carefully. She had seen countless civilizations, countless species, but none had acted as this human had. Small, fragile mortal, yet courageous. Honest, open, and unafraid. And that courage, that honesty had drawn her across the galaxy. She had traveled thousands of light years to see him, to understand him, to witness the uncalculated bravery of a human being. She descended slowly, her form becoming clearer as the light shifted. Liam could make out shapes, fluid, graceful, impossible in structure, yet beautiful. Her presence filled the air without moving it, a silent weight that pressed on his senses in the most delicate way. He wanted to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. Words seemed too small for what was happening. Finally, a thought entered his mind, not in words but as an understanding. He did not know if it was his imagination or something else, but he felt her intention. She had come because of his signal. She was curious. She was cautious. She meant no harm. I don't know if this is real, he whispered, barely audible. His hands shook slightly, not from fear alone, but from the sheer enormity of the moment. His message, a half-joking, half-serious call into the void, had reached someone who was older than anything he could imagine. Someone who had existed before humanity had even begun to dream. The immortal woman tilted her form, as if considering him. She had never seen a being act without calculation in such a way. Her kind had long abandoned emotion. They avoided curiosity, avoided attachment, avoided unpredictability. But this human had acted openly, boldly, with honesty. That had captured her attention more than any achievement, any strategy, or any conquest ever could. Liam took a deep breath and stepped forward. His feet sank slightly in the desert sand, but he did not care. He wanted to understand, to connect, to reach out. Who are you?" he asked, voice trembling. Why are you here?" The immortal woman did not answer in words. Instead, a wave of understanding passed through him, gentle but powerful. Images, feelings, intentions. He could not name them, but he felt them. She had come because he had called. She had come because he had dared to be honest. She had come to see him, to understand him, to witness something her kind had long forgotten, the courage of a mortal being. He staggered slightly, overwhelmed. I sent a signal. I didn't think." He stopped, realizing that words could not explain the moment. He had reached across the stars without expectation, and it had worked. Something in the universe had answered. The immortal woman floated closer, her luminous form pulsing gently. She wanted him to feel safe. She wanted him to see that she was not a threat. She had not come to conquer or demand. She had come to observe, to understand, and to connect. For all her power, for all her age, she was curious, and that curiosity was the bridge between them. Liam's eyes widened. He felt the air vibrate with her presence. Machines around him hummed faintly, though no one touched them. The energy he had felt the night before intensified, surrounding him like a soft, invisible light. It was beautiful, strange, and overwhelming all at once. You came," he whispered. "You really came." She did not answer. She only pulsed gently, her presence communicating a simple truth. Yes, she had come because of him. His honesty, his courage, his openness had drawn her across light years. She wanted to understand him. She wanted to see what made humans different, what made them brave, what made them remarkable. Liam swallowed hard. The reality of the moment sank into him. He was standing in the desert, facing a being older than the stars, a being who had lived for millennia, who had traveled across the galaxy because of a single message he had sent. And yet, despite her power, despite her age, she did not dominate him. She had come simply to meet him. The immortal woman floated closer still, her form becoming more defined. Liam could see subtle curves of light, movements that were fluid and almost human in their grace, yet impossible in their perfection. Her eyes, or what he perceived as eyes, shone with intelligence and curiosity. She studied him as carefully as he studied her. He stepped forward again, this time with purpose. I don't know if I can explain why I sent that message," he said. "It was lonely, yes. But it was also hope, I just wanted someone to understand me. I didn't expect anyone at all." His voice faltered. She responded not in words, but in presence. A warmth spread through him, a gentle reassurance. She had heard him, she had understood him. And for the first time in millennia, she felt something she had forgotten. Hope, curiosity, wonder, the thrill of the unexpected. The desert around them seemed to hold its breath. The wind was still. The sun climbed higher, casting shadows that stretched across the sand. Time itself seemed to pause as human and immortal faced each other, connected by a single moment, a single act of honesty that had traveled across light years. Liam's heart raced. He could not fully comprehend what was happening, but he knew one thing: he had reached someone beyond his world, someone extraordinary, someone who had chosen, for reasons he could not yet understand, to come because of him. The immortal woman studied him silently. She had seen countless species, civilizations, and individuals. Most had sought power, dominance, or survival. Few had acted with such openness and bravery without expectation. Few had sent messages into the void without strategy or caution. And yet here was a human, small and fragile, who had done exactly that. She considered her next step carefully. She could reveal herself fully, show her true form, and overwhelm him with the reality of her age and power. But she chose not to. Instead, she allowed him to adjust, to absorb the presence of something beyond comprehension, to feel safe and connected. Patience, she realized, was part of the lesson she was learning from him. Liam took another deep breath and lifted his hand slightly, almost instinctively. He did not know if she could see it, understand it, or respond, but he felt a need to reach out, a need to connect in some small way. I don't know what to say," he whispered. I'm not sure anyone would believe this." The immortal woman pulsed gently in response, a wave of understanding passing through him. She had heard every thought, every hope, every fear, and she wanted him to know that his honesty mattered, that his courage had reached across the stars and had been noticed. He felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes, though he did not know why. It was not fear, it was not sorrow. It was awe, wonder, and a strange, overwhelming joy. For the first time he felt seen, truly seen. The immortal woman allowed herself a small movement, almost imperceptible, yet full of grace. It was her way of acknowledging him, of responding without words. She had come across the galaxy not to demand, not to conquer, but to witness, to learn, and perhaps in some small way to connect. Liam took another step forward, feeling the sand shift beneath his feet. I don't understand," he admitted softly. "I don't understand why you came, but thank you, somehow thank you." Her presence pulsed again, warm and steady, as if to say, "It is because of you, your honesty, your courage, your hope. You have reached beyond your world, and I am here." The desert seemed to stretch infinitely around them, yet in that space, the universe itself felt smaller. In the quiet connection between human and immortal, something extraordinary had begun. Something that neither had anticipated, something that neither could have predicted. For the first time in eons, the immortal woman felt anticipation. And for the first time in years, the human felt truly alive. The story of their meeting, of their connection, had begun. Not with fear, not with conquest, not with expectation, but with honesty, courage, and the simplest, most human desire, to be seen. And in that quiet desert morning, beneath the rising sun, human and immortal began a journey that would change both of them, and perhaps, in time, touch the stars themselves. The desert sun had climbed high when Liam finally began to understand the reality of what was happening. The presence above him, the immortal woman, was no longer a distant figure. She was real, tangible in ways he had never imagined possible. Her luminous form hovered gently, and though he could not touch her, he felt her attention like a soft wind brushing his skin. Every movement, every pulse of energy, carried intelligence and curiosity. Liam sat on the sand, staring up at her. His mind raced with questions, yet he realized that words might not suffice. How could he explain humanity to someone who had lived longer than the stars themselves? How could he explain loneliness, hope, and courage? And yet, in that moment, he felt that she understood more than he could articulate. She had watched him, studied him, and yet she had not intervened. She had allowed him to react, to think, to feel. That restraint impressed him. For all her power, she had chosen patience. Liam felt a deep respect for her, even as awe and fear tangled with his thoughts. You really came," he whispered again. His voice trembled slightly, but it was not fear, it was wonder. "All the way here for me?" The immortal woman's form pulsed gently in response. She did not speak, at least not in words he could understand. Instead, a wave of comprehension passed through him, almost like a vibration in his mind. Yes, I came, because you reached across the stars without fear, because your courage is remarkable. The words did not exist in sound, but in understanding. Liam's eyes widened. He could feel the sincerity of it, the depth of intention. This being had seen countless civilizations, had witnessed the rise and fall of species, and yet here she was, drawn to him. Drawn to a single human who had acted without expectation. He swallowed hard. I don't know what to say, he admitted. I didn't expect anything. I didn't think anyone would respond. The immortal woman moved slightly closer, her presence warm and steady. Liam could sense her thoughts, not as words, but as impressions, observation, curiosity, and a desire to understand. She had traveled across light years, not to conquer or claim, but simply to witness, to connect, to see what made humans so extraordinary. For hours they existed together in silence. The desert seemed to stretch forever, yet time itself felt suspended. Liam felt a strange peace in her presence, and though questions swirled endlessly in his mind, he no longer felt fear. She had come because of him, and that realization was more powerful than any danger he could imagine. But the calm would not last forever. Far beyond Earth, other eyes had detected the signal. Other civilizations, advanced and powerful, had noticed the arrival of the immortal being in the solar system. Some were curious, some were cautious. A few were concerned. After all, a being of immense power traveling across the galaxy to meet a mortal human was unprecedented. The first message came through subtle channels, observed only by satellites and listening posts. An anomaly has been detected, a distant voice reported. A being of unknown origin is in the Earth system. The human species may be involved. Back at the station, Liam remained unaware of the attention he had attracted. He was focused entirely on the presence above him, trying to understand her intentions. Yet in the back of his mind, a tiny flicker of worry began to grow. If others had noticed her, if her species had laws about interaction with mortals, what would happen? The immortal woman sensed the tension building in him. She had seen similar feelings in countless species: fear, doubt, hesitation. And yet she understood that humans were unique. Their strength often came not from power or knowledge, but from choice and courage. That small, fragile species could do extraordinary things simply by daring to act honestly. She allowed her form to shimmer more brightly, a gentle reassurance that she meant no harm. Liam felt it, a calm wave washing over him. You're not going to hurt me?" he asked softly, almost afraid to speak. She pulsed gently, a simple affirmation. No. I am here to understand, to observe, to connect. For the next few hours they existed together, observing one another. Liam tried to explain pieces of humanity, small glimpses of what it meant to be mortal: laughter, hope, fear, and resilience. She listened, absorbing everything with an intelligence that made him both nervous and fascinated. You understand more than I expected," he said, shaking his head. "It's incredible. You've lived forever, and yet you care about what one human thinks." The immortal woman's form shifted slightly, almost as if she were smiling. In her mind, she acknowledged the truth of his statement. Humans were unpredictable, brave, honest. They acted without calculation, often out of emotion or curiosity, and that made them dangerous and remarkable. In her long life, she had rarely encountered a species that dared to act without fear or expectation. Hours passed. Liam felt exhaustion creeping in, but he did not want to leave. He had never imagined meeting someone like her. And yet, here she was, hovering above the desert, patient and curious. He realized that the entire universe, in some strange way, had narrowed to this moment, this connection, this understanding. But then, the first challenge arrived. From the edge of the solar system, signals indicated that other civilizations were observing. Ships, instruments, and satellites began to register unusual energy readings from the vicinity of Earth. Some of these beings did not understand the immortal woman's intentions. They saw only power, and in the galaxy, power often demanded a response. The immortal woman detected the surveillance. She had traveled across eons and light years, yet she was not immune to caution. She knew that revealing herself too openly could provoke conflict. And yet she also sensed that this human, fragile, mortal, courageous, would need her protection, or at least guidance, in a world that might not yet understand the extraordinary events unfolding. Liam noticed the subtle changes first as flickers in the sky. Shadows moved unnaturally, distant lights glimmered in ways satellites could not explain, and a low hum reached his ears, almost like a vibration in the air. He looked up at her and felt a pang of worry. Are they coming?" he asked quietly. The immortal woman pulsed, an acknowledgement that danger might exist, though it was not immediate. She had faced countless threats across galaxies. She had survived civilizations collapsing and stars dying. But she also knew that humans, small and mortal as they were, often acted in ways that were brave beyond reason. And she realized that protecting this one human might require more than observation. Liam's mind raced. He had hoped for adventure, for something extraordinary, but he had not expected attention from civilizations beyond his understanding. Yet, as he looked at her, he felt a strange confidence. She had come because of him. She was here. And somehow that presence alone gave him courage he did not know he possessed. Hours turned into a day. The sun blazed in the sky, and the desert heat pressed against the metal walls of the station. Liam and the immortal woman continued to observe one another, communicating in subtle ways, sharing understanding beyond words. She showed him glimpses of the stars, of distant galaxies, of civilizations that had risen and fallen, teaching him not with words, but with presence. He began to understand the weight of her existence. She had lived longer than time itself in human terms. She had witnessed wonders and horrors unimaginable to him, and yet she had chosen to come to him. To this small, fragile human who had dared to send a simple signal into the void. That choice, he realized, was the most remarkable thing of all. Yet danger loomed. Signals continued to arrive from the edges of the solar system. Other civilizations were curious, cautious, and some, perhaps, hostile. The immortal woman moved with grace, preparing subtle defenses, though she did not reveal them. She wanted to ensure the human's safety without frightening him. Her presence alone, she knew, was overwhelming. The thought of unleashing her full power would terrify him and potentially provoke others. Liam noticed her subtle movements and sensed the tension. What are you going to do?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. She pulsed gently, a soft reassurance. "Do not fear. I will protect you. I will observe. I will not harm." For the next several hours, they worked in tandem, though not with words. She guided him subtly, helping him adjust instruments to track the energy signals approaching Earth. Liam felt as if he were seeing the universe through her eyes, vast, complex, and full of wonders beyond imagination. He realized that his small human perspective, though limited, could be part of something extraordinary. As night fell over the desert, the first distant vessels arrived on the edge of the solar system. Their presence was silent at first, subtle distortions in the stars. Liam watched with a mix of awe and apprehension. The immortal woman remained calm, her form glowing softly in the darkness. She had faced countless challenges before, yet this was new. Protecting a mortal, observing other civilizations, maintaining her own secrecy, it required careful thought. Liam's hand rested on the sand, feeling its warmth. He looked up at her and realized that despite the danger, despite the unknown, he felt safe. Her presence was more than protection. It was guidance, understanding, and somehow connection. In the vast, cold universe, he had found someone who saw him, truly saw him. And that realization, he understood, was more important than fear, more powerful than danger, and more extraordinary than anything he had ever imagined. The night sky over the desert had never looked so vast or so alive. Stars glittered like diamonds scattered across black velvet, and a gentle wind carried the cool scent of sand and distant life. Liam stood at the edge of the relay station, staring upward, feeling the immense presence above him. The immortal woman hovered silently, her luminous form pulsing gently, as if reflecting the rhythm of the universe itself. The last few days had been extraordinary beyond anything he could have imagined. A single message, sent almost as a joke into the void, had brought him into contact with a being older than the stars. They had shared understanding, presence, and connection without words. And now, the quiet calm of the desert was about to be challenged. Signals from distant civilizations had grown stronger, more insistent, as if the universe itself was aware of their meeting. Liam felt a strange mix of excitement and anxiety. He had hoped for adventure, for something extraordinary, but he had not expected this. The attention of other civilizations, some curious, some cautious, had begun to converge on the solar system. He glanced at the monitors inside the station, watching the faint energy distortions approaching from the edges of the system. The immortal woman sensed his concern. She pulsed gently, and though no words were spoken, he understood her message. "Do not fear, I will protect you. We will face this together." He nodded, taking a deep breath. "Together," he whispered. The word felt small in the vastness of the desert, yet it carried a weight of hope, courage, and connection that neither time nor distance could diminish. As the first distant vessels entered the solar system, Liam could see them clearly for the first time. Sleek and alien, they glided silently through space, their designs unlike anything he had ever imagined. Their intentions were unclear, but he knew one thing: their presence would change everything. The immortal woman had faced threats before, but these were new, and she had to act carefully. She allowed her form to glow brighter, projecting her energy outward in waves. The vessels responded, pausing, scanning, sensing. The immortal woman did not threaten. She did not attack. She merely radiated presence, intelligence, and curiosity. Liam could feel the calm power in her, the quiet assurance that no harm would come to him. One of the vessels shifted closer, its sensors focusing on the desert and the glowing figure above it. Liam held his breath, unsure of what would happen. Yet the immortal woman remained steady, her presence bridging the gap between worlds, communicating a simple truth: we mean no harm, we seek only understanding. Hours passed, and the distant vessels continued to observe, cautious but not hostile. Liam began to understand the magnitude of what had happened. His single message had reached across the stars. It had drawn the attention of a being older than time, and through her, the attention of civilizations beyond his comprehension. And yet, despite the danger, he felt safe. The immortal woman pulsed once more, a soft, reassuring wave that filled him with calm. She had chosen to act with patience and intelligence, guiding him through a situation that could have been catastrophic. Liam realized that courage was not just about action. It was also about trust, understanding, and the willingness to connect. The night deepened, and the desert became a quiet haven of stars and silence. Liam walked closer to the glowing figure, feeling both awe and familiarity. He realized that the connection they shared was unique. It was not about power, conquest, or immortality. It was about recognition, understanding, and the simple human desire to be seen. You could have come with force," he whispered, "but you didn't. You came with understanding." The immortal woman pulsed in response, an acknowledgement that resonated in his mind. Understanding is stronger than force. Curiosity is stronger than fear. He smiled, a small, human smile, yet filled with wonder and determination. "Then we can face this together," he said, glancing at the approaching vessels. "We can show them humans are different. We don't fight first, we try to understand." Her glow intensified slightly, a subtle acknowledgement. For the first time in millennia, she felt hope not for herself, but for humanity. They were small, fragile, mortal, yet their courage and honesty could ripple across galaxies, creating change far beyond their understanding. The vessels hesitated, sensing the confidence in the desert, the connection between human and immortal. And then slowly, one by one, they began to retreat. They did not attack. They did not interfere. They simply observed, cautious but no longer hostile. Liam felt a surge of relief and pride. The human spirit, the willingness to act with courage and honesty, had created ripples that even the galaxy could not ignore. Hours passed, and the desert night remained calm. Liam and the immortal woman continued to share presence, exchanging understanding beyond words. She had shown him glimpses of the universe, of civilizations and stars, of history and possibility. And he had shown her something she had almost forgotten: the bravery of the human heart, the power of honesty, and the beauty of connection. Liam looked up at her, feeling a deep sense of awe. I never imagined anything like this," he said softly. "I sent a message, just a simple message, and it changed everything." She pulsed gently, a soft, almost imperceptible rhythm that spoke volumes. "Yes. You reached out, you dared, and that courage has changed more than you realize." He felt tears in his eyes, not from fear, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming beauty of the moment. In the vast universe, he had been seen, he had been acknowledged. And in that recognition, he felt a sense of belonging he had never known. The desert seemed to stretch infinitely, yet in that space, time itself felt suspended. Human and immortal existed together, connected by a single act of bravery and honesty. The stars above twinkled, as if witnessing and celebrating the extraordinary bond that had formed in the quiet desert night. As dawn approached, Liam felt a sense of purpose rising within him. The encounter had changed him. He would never be the same. He had glimpsed the extraordinary, had touched the impossible, and had learned that courage, honesty, and connection were forces that could ripple across the universe. The immortal woman watched him, her presence gentle yet commanding. She had lived for eons, seen civilizations rise and fall, and yet she had learned something new, the power of a single mortal to affect eternity. Humanity was fragile, small, and imperfect, but it was brave, honest, and capable of wonders that even immortals could not anticipate. Liam stepped closer, feeling the warmth of her presence. I don't know what comes next," he admitted, "but I want to see it, I want to be part of it." She pulsed in acknowledgement, a silent promise. "You are part of it, and together we will see what the universe holds." The first rays of the sun touched the desert, illuminating the sand, the station, and the glowing figure hovering above. The distant vessels had retreated, leaving the solar system quiet once more. For now, the universe seemed to have paused, watching, waiting, and acknowledging the courage of a single human and the choice of an immortal. Liam realized something profound. It was not power, not technology, not intelligence that defined strength in the universe. It was honesty, courage, and the willingness to connect. These qualities had drawn her across light years. These qualities had changed the course of events. These qualities had created ripples that even ancient civilizations could not ignore. He looked up at the immortal woman, feeling both awe and gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." She pulsed softly, almost like a smile. "No, thank you, for reminding me that courage and honesty can move the stars." The desert remained silent, yet it was alive with possibility. Liam knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, and countless mysteries awaited. But for the first time, he understood that he was not insignificant. One human with honesty and courage could touch eternity. One human could create connections that even immortals could not ignore. As they stood together, human and immortal, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Liam felt the pulse of the universe, subtle but present, as if acknowledging their bond. He realized that the adventure would continue, that challenges would come, but he was ready. With honesty, courage, and connection, he could face anything. The immortal woman, observing him, felt something she had not felt in millennia: hope, wonder, and anticipation. Humanity, fragile and mortal, had reminded her that life was not about control, not about power, but about understanding, curiosity, and courage. And in that lesson, the galaxy itself would never be the same. Liam smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had reached out into the void, and the universe had answered. He had learned that honesty and courage were forces stronger than fear, stronger than distance, stronger than time itself. And in that quiet desert, beneath the rising sun and the vast sky, human and immortal began a new chapter together. A chapter of discovery, courage, and connection that would change them both, and perhaps in time touch the stars themselves. For in the universe, it was not power that defined greatness. It was the simple, human courage to be seen, to reach out, and to connect. And through that courage, even the smallest human could leave a mark that stretched across galaxies.